All right, another episode of the Garage Gym Experiment podcast. This time I have Adam Hensley. He is the founder of Garage Gym Lab. His current project is Beyond Gym Design. He is a long lost friend of mine. We haven't chatted in a while. And I think, Adam, to a lot of people, you kind of like just fell off. So I'm excited. I know you haven't fallen off, and I know you're busy, but excited to catch up, hear your story, how you fell into this project. I guess it's more than just a project now.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you wouldn't mind just like going back to the very beginning and then like giving maybe like a highlight of what Garage Gym Lab was, maybe some key events, maybe like throw in like COVID in there, anything like that. And then we'll talk about how it slowly or maybe quickly evolved.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on. It's great to catch up again. And yeah, I haven't fallen off the face of the earth, though I'm not as active on GGL as I used to be. But we'll get to that. So my home gym journey started back in 2016. I was, trying to have a family with my wife. I was driving 30 minutes plus to a gym, paying a second gym membership just to take a shower, and then working really long hours, coming back and rinse and repeating, training at 4:30 in the morning. So I needed to do something that was a bit more sustainable, and decided to start a home gym. And at the time, you had Rogue and a few other players, so I just went the easy route, got myself a Rogue R3, Rogue Ohio Power Bar, a flat utility bench, and then some bumpers that I stored in a DIY toaster rack. And, by today's standards, that's nothing fancy or special, but at the time I was super proud of it. And that was what started sort of my addiction. And as I was looking to, I guess, add some more pieces over time, I really realized that there weren't that many resources out there online to understand where I should buy, what I should buy, and how I wanted to ideally fill out my space. So I figured I could maybe participate in that space a little bit. I was looking to maybe create a little side hustle from my corporate America job. And I figured something I was passionate about was fitness and equipment. So I think I started GGL. It was like right when you were starting. So I got on, I think it was like July of 2017. And I saw where this new page, Garage Gym Experiment, was on Instagram, and I was like, no, someone beat me to it. And because I was trying to plan something, with an August release, so right around the corner. I didn't officially launch it until November. My son was born in August. I spent the next few months just trying to create a little bit of content, so when someone visited the website, it didn't look completely bare bones. And yeah, started it in 2017, was able to thankfully and fortunately grow it to a pretty decent sized audience over that time. And of course, COVID in 2020 changed everything for everybody. And at that time decided to sort of take the plunge and left my corporate America job and went full time on GGL. So that was a high level overview of maybe how GGL started, but I can go as in depth as you want.
Let me chime in with 2017. So I think I bought the domain for garagegymexperiment.com in like April or May.
Yeah.
And then like kept pushing it off. It took me like 3 months to finally get something. And then I want to say my first Instagram post, and I think maybe even blog post, was like July.
Yeah.
And then I do remember I must have reached out to my buddy Adam a few months after I started. And then I remember this account called Garage Gym Lab coming up. And I was like, oh, did you see this? Or something like that. And Adam, my Adam was like, oh, that's bullshit.
Cool
I was just like, yeah,
copycat.
it is what it is. But I do remember not to turn it onto me, but I remember I started Garage Gym Experiment, and it was after like a year or so of owning a home gym and being like, this is like really helping my life. And then I like started to see if there was anything else out there, and I saw Garage Gym Reviews out there, and I think he had like 12,000 Instagram followers.
Yeah.
So it did give me like some information, like, oh, maybe this could be a thing. So yeah, that's crazy that was like 8 years ago.
Dude, I know, man. It is really wild. So, I think when you and I started, it was you, it was me, it was Coop, it was John B from GarageGyms.com, John Greaves at Garage Gym Life Media,
right. Yes.
And then you had like some of the other guys like Joe Gray, who wasn't really creating a ton of content, but was very active in his home gym and posting things, and it kind of evolved from there. And obviously we have a lot more players in the space now, which is really great. It's awesome to see just how much the home gym community has grown over the last 8 years.
It is crazy. Were you like instantly obsessed with the side hustle?
Yes, I definitely was. And the momentum really picked up. I mean, because I did a very grassroots style, and you may have done the same thing, where I would see somebody posting on Instagram and I would just DM them and say, hey, I saw your garage gym. I just think that was so cool. And I just wanted to introduce myself because I have a home gym too. And creating like a little bit of momentum, just getting the name out there, getting a little bit of followers. And then I got my first dollar online. And then I was like, oh my gosh, like I could fund my next barbell purchase potentially. And then of course it, evolved from there, and was thankful to be able to turn it into a career of sorts. But yeah, I was addicted from the jump for sure.
Did you have any inspirations? Like, were there any inspiration websites like outside of, like, I don't know, were you inspired by Garage Gym Reviews? Were you inspired by anything like that? Or were there like other sites that you kind of modeled your work after?
I mean, certainly it was inspired by what Coop had been building, and was kind of looking to achieve the same thing. I remember kind of what you said a second ago when he first hit that 10,000 mark or so on Instagram, and he was very proud of it, obviously, and posted about it. I was like, wow, that's amazing. 10,000 people. Like I got a lot of ways to go, but maybe. But as far as like other websites, not necessarily. I didn't really know anything about creating a website. So those 4 months leading up to our son being born and me launching GGL, I just kind of did crash course WordPress, YouTube searches, and just tried to create something that was polished, but not necessarily like, super professional. And that evolved, I would say, over the next few years. But I actually I had wanted to start a blog before. So I was in commercial real estate and finance before, and I wanted to create a blog about Microsoft Excel, believe it or not. And I went down the path of creating a bunch of blog posts and tutorials and things like that. But for whatever reason, I guess I just felt reluctant, or maybe some imposter syndrome creeped in, and I just never hit publish on it. And I still have those, like they're sitting on my desktop, and every once in a while I'll see that file and I'll just be like, man, that's been a long time. And who knows what could have been, but I'm grateful that I started GGL instead.
Man, I was the same way. I did a few little like side things and never told anybody. And then also, I mean, Garage Gym Experiment, it's not like you kind of do it on this account hoping no one sees it for a long time. It doesn't seem like it doesn't necessarily, like, I feel like you were a little more outgoing than like me throughout the early years. You were more like apt to like get behind the camera and say, hey, here I am, this is what I'm doing today. So it doesn't really, like, I'm surprised that you said that.
As far as like the I was very good in Excel, of course, but I don't know, maybe I just felt like there was some imposter syndrome in the sense that I wasn't as prolific as maybe somebody else. So I can't really pinpoint it. It was also a couple years prior, so maybe just natural maturity kicked in, and I was just more willing to put myself out there. But yeah, for whatever reason, just and maybe it was just that I didn't think that I had the time. I was recently married at the time, working 80 hours a week in my corporate job, and I was just like probably burned out.
Yeah, long time ago. Well, it is interesting. Like even 8 years later, there's definitely some people out there who have like no name profiles that probably know more than both of us.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's always somebody that knows more. Definitely.
It is interesting. You'll see comments and be like, I don't know. So part of it is just putting yourself out there and doing it every day.
Going back to your first post on Instagram, which, believe it or not, I think I remember exactly what it was. It was like a black and white picture. I think there was like a sweaty mat on the ground and maybe like a kettlebell laying next to it or something. It's funny the things that you can recall. But my first Instagram post, I waited until the website was live, and I went and got pizza with my wife and some friends, and I posted it right before I walked into the pizza place. And I remember coming out of the pizza place and just being so excited to check and realizing not a single person liked my picture. And I realized at like midnight that night that I never took my profile off of like hidden. So nobody could even find it. So I was like, wow, gotta learn how to use the platform a little bit better.
Well, hashtags were a lot bigger then. You could like go in and search I mean, you mentioned grassroots. I used to like go hit the garage gym hashtag and like type in comments like for hours.
Yeah. Dude, Instagram's changed so much.
So much.
It's so, when you and I were coming up, we were posting pictures of people's home gym setups and getting tons of engagement. And back then, if I recall, it was based on time. So you could post at a certain time of the day and be confident that you were going to get a ton of engagement because people were on lunch or, stuck in traffic, like whatever.
Yeah.
Getting ready for bed.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it evolved over time and engagement just changed. And now it's more geared towards video and things like that. But so like my early days, it was all just pictures of home gyms, basically.
Yeah. I remember, I think I did, you mentioned some of my first posts were just like, it was a grungy garage gym. I think I did like that for like the first 15 or so photos. And then I remember I reposted one. And then I was talking to Adam and I was like, man, trying to figure out this strategy. And he was like, seems like people liked when you just reposted somebody else's photo. And I was like, well, maybe I'll try doing that more often.
Yeah.
And it was like the Barstool style because it was just like repost sites were big. And it gave like inspiration. It was almost like Pinterest style. It just like the home gym space was so young that people just wanted ideas and they would save them and share them and and follow you because you reposted other people's ideas. Yeah. So, but changed drastically. Now they just want people doing crazy stuff. Or, in front of the camera, telling your stories, that type of stuff. So.
Yep, it's definitely changed. It's I think it's so funny too, on the Adam topic, that I didn't realize who Adam was until he won a giveaway that I did on Garage Gym Lab. I think it was like a whole set of Intech dumbbells.
Yeah.
And like I didn't know until like a year later when he reached out. And I asked if we wanted to like collaborate on something, and I was like, "Wait a second, you're with Jake? You work with Jake?"
Well, I do. He did take a decent sized break for a while. I think he won during that break. Yeah, but he was still like, dude. I remember him sending me this message like, "I won."
That was so funny.
So funny, and he still has them. They're awesome dumbbells.
Yeah, no, they're great, man. I'm a big fan. I think he had like the. Not the Deltas, but the Delta Craft series. So not stainless, but
they're not. Yeah, they're raw.
But
I think
raw, but they had like a coating on them to help mitigate some of that oxidation at least, but not prevent it, of course.
Got it. And giveaways were, companies were always reaching out for giveaways, and that's another reason I think both of us grew. Yeah. Yes,
giveaways were huge in terms of growth, and then it became impossible to do giveaways because of all the spam.
Yeah.
We had, I had people, it would have been hundreds of people messaging me because of a fake account, of which there were dozens, and they were unfortunately like giving them their credit card information or signing up for magazine subscriptions in Romania. Like, and part of me was like, well, that was not very smart. But at the same time, I get it. Like, it's, maybe you think that it's something that it's not, but that became very frustrating because that was a big driver of growth, and it was fun to just give back to the community. I did like the 12 Days of Christmas a couple of years, and I just had to completely stop and abandon that, and that was really fun for me to do, but it became impossible.
Yeah. It was easy marketing for you and the companies.
100%. So
yeah, you never see those anymore.
I know.
All right, well, tell me about the growth, like, or just tell me about, like, you know, you started from 0 in 2017. I think by 2020 you had over 100,000 subscribers, and then you kind of started moving away from it, and you were blogging and writing website articles. So yeah, tell me about,
that was like my main focus was Instagram and the website. I did YouTube, you know, here and there. And while I felt like I was making pretty good videos, I never really fell in love with the process. It took me a long time. It stressed me out. I never really was able to commit like full time to creating weekly videos. And I give so much credit to guys and gals in any industry who can churn out video after video, because it is a lot of work. But yeah, I think I had, maybe 60 or 70,000 heading into COVID. And then it just completely popped, you know, seemingly overnight. That growth, I think, took it, you know, well over 100,000. And then things started kind of plateauing. I think just industry wide, it just kind of became stagnant, and I just kind of stayed at that level. And I don't know if that was just because Instagram was changing or what, but at the time, not to jump too far ahead, but I had a neighbor who had introduced me to a guy. He had a really nice home here in Charlotte that he was building, and he wanted to build a home gym for his kids. His son played high-level lacrosse, and he just wanted to have a space for him to be able to train in the off season. So I helped him with that gym, and I did about 6 or 7 more of those over the next few years, just sort of on the side of GGL, and only from people that, you know, were referring me. It wasn't like I was actively marketing those types of services, because I was still trying to grow the website and social media and all that. And then in 2023, late 2023, there were a lot of changes in the online landscape. Google had made a lot of changes with their algorithm and with the way they were producing search results, and it was really detrimental to a lot of independent publishers. I was thankful early on to not be hit as hard, but it was a wake-up call for me that I couldn't really rely on all of that traffic to, you know, create enough income to support my family. So I decided to pivot a little bit and focus a lot of my attention on just doing the home gym design and build, which I had done sort of secretly, I guess you could say, over the last 3 years. And so I started Beyond Gym Design in March of 2024, and you know, have been really focused on that since then.
Cool. So like, what's step one of forming Beyond Gym Design?
It's funny because I had to go back to do all that early research that I had done with how to start GGL. So, you know, it's just starting, getting all of your business documents in line, getting your bank accounts, and all of the administrative behind the scenes stuff that nobody maybe sees on the outside, and just working, you know, behind the scenes and trying to build it the smart way. And then at the same time, getting some initial clients to, you know, get out there and get your name out there and advance the business.
Yeah. So it's been like a year and a half of like this being your primary focus then, is that correct?
Yeah.
All right. So how did you get your first clients? Who were they? What did those jobs look like?
So thankfully, from the jump, most of the jobs that we've worked on have been all, I would say, luxury homes. So like $3 million plus homes. So sizable budgets, sizable rooms in terms of square footages, and a lot of flexibility and freedom in kind of what we could do. So those early jobs were also just word of mouth. And the goal with this space, which I've been wanting to do for several years, but just never felt like it was the right time. I was a little bit hesitant. I was, I guess, risk averse into opening up a space like this. And my dream before was having a bigger space. I'm thankful that I didn't do that because this is plenty of space. But it did take, it took 9 months for us to get this room ready. And part of that was just some delays in some of the equipment. Like we work with a company out of Italy called Unix, and there was like Italian port strikes. Then it sat in the port here in the States for 2 months trying to go through customs. So those sort of things kind of put delays on everything. But now that we have this space, we're excited to be, more forward facing in terms of our marketing, being able to tour clients through here, be more active. And whereas before it was just sort of word of mouth and grin and bearing it from there.
Got it. And then I'm going to hammer this. What specifically did those first few ones look like? It doesn't sound like it's varied too much over the last year or so, but what's a typical job, I guess, maybe then?
Well, so the first jobs we worked with were primarily like equipment that you would find from Rep, et cetera, because we hadn't vetted out the companies that we work with now. So now we have a much more expansive, I guess, product catalog that you could call it, of companies that we work with that are all on that higher end of the spectrum. So Eleiko, Watson, Unix, Prime, Intech, Nord, Torque Fitness, et cetera. So until we could really establish relationships with them, we went with the more readily accessible equipment that any consumer could find online. But now our jobs are looking more in line with kind of what I just mentioned with some of the other companies. And that doesn't mean that we don't do things with like Rep and things like that. We absolutely do. But some of our clients just tend to gravitate towards the higher end stuff.
So, all right, let's just say I just moved into a $3 million home. And are most people putting these in their garages or in a
No.
room? Basement
Yeah,
room?
we've only had one. We've had one client only put it in their garage. Everything else has been. So we work a lot with new construction. So
Yeah, I
working
noticed.
working with builders directly. And a lot of what we're finding is that homeowners are programming fitness and wellness into their spaces on the front end. So they're saying, I know I want to have a gym in here. Help me design it. Whereas before, maybe it was a 7th bedroom or a theater room or something like that. And so now it's an opportunity to activate their household, get their kids involved, set a good example. Obviously, we're living in the digital era, right? So being able to, get kids out there, whatever, people are keen, I'm finding, to do that. But so to answer your question, no, it's not all in garages.
Yeah, I didn't think so. So like I would be curious because we did this for many years and you never really even looked at these companies. And I looked at your website. I've seen them all. I've tried to get them all to come to Home Gym Con. None of them respond. But I do know the luxury home gym market is massive, and it's growing. It seems like pretty quickly. And it makes sense that it would be with new builds, people just like having a room for a gym in mind as they're doing this new build. And you mentioned a lot of these companies. A lot of them are coming from Europe. as well.
Yes.
So I'd be curious to hear like your take on just the emerging luxury market.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm very optimistic about it. I think there's real opportunity there. Um, I think people are willing to spend on nice equipment that they know is going to last and also looks very aesthetic, especially for our target demographic. I mean, some of these pieces that we can put together with Watson, for example, are some of the most visually aesthetic pieces of equipment that you can buy. I mean, it's like essentially functional art. And then something with like the Torque X Create, we can basically build anything that somebody could ever imagine in terms of training variety. So there's all sorts of different ways that we can configure or customize these things, and I find that people are willing to invest in that because they know it's going to last, they know it's going to perform, and at the end of the day, even back to 2016 when I was proud to show people my very basic garage gym, it's still a flex, and people like to show off their stuff. And when they have guests over, they can say, here's my amazing home gym, and hopefully blow some of their friends away with that.
Yeah. So obviously like Garage Gym Lab, the website, and doing it for years gave you, you researched this stuff extensively for a long time, and it kind of like led you to your first job in some way. But I'd be curious to hear how else it has helped you do this. Do you ever bring it up when you're like talking to potential clients or anything? I'd be curious to how that translates.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it translates really well because I've had the opportunity to try and experiment with a lot of different equipment from all sorts of manufacturers. So I think I can speak intelligently to a potential client on what they might want to focus on based on their training goals or the size of their room, the configuration of their room, their budget, and having that experience with various types of equipment, I think adds a little bit of credibility and some trust and comfort. And like I said, it just kind of helps me speak more eloquently to what we're offering and why it might be suitable for somebody.
What's a typical day look like for you these days?
Oh my gosh, there is no typical day. It really varies. I could be meeting on site with a builder. I could be meeting for the first time with a client. I could, at the time, up until now, be in here building stuff for our showroom. Now it's going to be touring clients through our showroom, or it's actually out in the field building the gyms themselves. So I still build all the gyms. So as you know, putting together your own gym equipment, it's a very manual and labor intensive job. So that's basically what I do. And there's no real schedule, I guess you could call it. Whereas it used to be, I'd wake up, I'd have my coffee, I'd go train, and then I would write articles. It's a much different experience now.
Yeah, boots on the ground.
But you know what? I find it more gratifying for me personally, and that was one of the other reasons why I did decide to pivot a little bit more into this. Is that at the end of the day, I'm a people person, and I like that one-on-one interaction, and I like being able to just help people in general. So being able to see a project through to completion is very satisfying for me. And it's not that I didn't get that in the online world, because I did have great conversations with people and I still do, but this is just a little bit different in the level of personal attention.
Yeah. I would be curious to hear, like, how many leads are you getting? How many like in-person meetings? What, like, I worked in marketing ops, so like, what's your close rate?
You're really getting into the details here.
Yeah, I'd be curious to hear like what. Yeah, and then also just like, how do you think about? Is there any competition in the area yet? Just landscape of what your work looks like.
Ask me again in 6 months on the statistics side of it, because it's hard to quantify given that we've really just been doing word of mouth, and we haven't been as active on the marketing front.
Okay.
So in the future, I can speak more to that. As far as like competition goes, there are players. I mean, there's players in sort of every market. They might be doing something a little bit differently though. They may be focused more on the commercial side of it. They may be doing more with like used equipment, maybe just focused on installation. So we feel like we're uniquely positioned to offer a turnkey approach from, soup to nuts. We do everything from beginning to end, from concept to, flooring, equipment, installation, preventative maintenance after the fact. And we really see ourselves as being partners for life. So if somebody needed to relocate, if someone wanted to expand, we're going to be there for them in the future. And we don't, see a ton of that right now. But our goal is to just become the prominent name in this market and hopefully beyond in terms of home gym design and build.
Are you looking to keep it local or transition to like a nationwide brand?
We're certainly focused on our immediate region, so Charlotte and surrounding areas. Call it the Carolinas, and we will entertain opportunities anywhere. We're not necessarily marketing everywhere, but we will consider opportunities anywhere if it's the right opportunity. So we just did one in Atlanta, and we see ourselves participating in other markets too. But again, we're not necessarily out in other markets actively marketing.
I saw you had a partner. How is that? What kind of relationship do you have there?
A great relationship. My partner's great. He started E2M Fitness, which is a massive online coaching program. And we met actually here at our garage development. So I had the studio gym with Garage Gym Lab, which was in a smaller unit. And he also has several units here where he was filming all of E2M's content. So we were able to meet here. Super amazing guy, very business savvy, understands fitness really well, former lieutenant colonel in the Army, very organized, disciplined, and we align very nicely in terms of just personality, but also, business sense as well. So I've always been a little bit hesitant to consider partnerships because they either go really well or they go really bad. But from the jump was very comfortable, and I don't think we would be where we are today if that weren't the case.
Got it. All right. So I was, like I said, I was looking at your website. It's very well done, by the way. Everything you've ever done has always been very well polished.
Thank you.
I would say it's a little bit of a different style than me, whereas I'm just like, go. You're a little more like, let's make this really pretty and let's. So
there's something to be said about that too, because
I think we'd be good partners. Like if we good business partners. Like
yes,
that like the next person I would want on this team or whatever would be somebody more organized and organizational and like more getting things more polished for sure. Yeah.
And I could use maybe the opposite as well, because sometimes I can get really stuck in the weeds of maybe a little bit too much of the perfection side of it.
Yeah.
Whereas I should probably just hit publish and go from there.
Yep. Yep. That's something I've always noticed about us. So how did you go about partnerships? Like you have partnerships, or just you have the ability to sell like Unix, Watson, how does that come about?
Yeah, just reaching out, forming relationships. Thankfully through GGL, was able to establish a lot of relationships prior, so had a warm, network when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And then just going from there. But that was a big part of it too in terms of the length. I mean, that's a process. It's there's a lot of legwork that goes into establishing vendor relationships and things like that. But we're grateful for all of our partners for sure, and we love their products, of course, and thankfully so do our clients.
Yeah. And what about like licenses and insurance? Do you have to like get those as well? Is that part of the
Yes.
process? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely on the insurance front, that would be catastrophic if that weren't there, especially working in some of the homes that we are. But yeah, so that's a part of all of the upfront deal with starting a business, is making sure you're, crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's, and you're saving yourself and setting yourself up for, future success.
Okay. What about getting back into content? Is that something you ever see yourself doing, or is there a push for Beyond Gym Design to have a certain sort of content style? I have seen just like construction, or just like home builders do social media really well.
Yes.
And I think I'm just wanted to mention, I think there's some potential for that too.
100%. So we're going to be heavy on the content here at Beyond Gym Design for sure. We see that as a real avenue, and I'll be, of course, heavily participating in that. So documenting basically a lot of these builds, sharing some tidbits of the equipment that we offer, product demonstrations. There's a lot of opportunity in terms of creating content. So I do see myself for sure getting back into it in that sense. As far as GGL, I do also see me getting back into the content in that as well. A lot of it will be in collaboration with Beyond Gym Design, but I'm not going to completely abandon what I've thankfully been able to build over the years. So I do envision getting back into that in some capacity. Am I going to be making weekly YouTube videos? Definitely not. Am I going to be making occasional YouTube videos? Probably. Am I going to be writing articles? Yes. And I'm excited for that because I have missed it some. But starting this has really demanded a lot of effort over the last year. It's funny. It's like people don't often see all the work that goes on behind the scenes. Whether it's a perceived overnight success or something like that. I'm not saying that we are, but just in general, there's been a lot of effort on the back end of this that has really required me to step back a little bit from GGL. And part of me feels bad about that, but I'm excited to get back into it some as well.
Yeah. I would be interested to see how you merge it. What about, it kind of seems like you're in a completely different area than you were, 5-6 years ago. But do you keep up with any of the home gym content anymore? Do you have any thoughts on how it's evolved?
Yeah, I definitely do. Not as much as I did, but I still nerd out on equipment, and I keep a pulse on everything that's sort of going on in terms of product releases and some of the things that people are doing in the content game. As far as how it has evolved, kind of like we talked about earlier, I think there's been a real effort to transition more into the video stuff, short form video, long form video, as well as I think since COVID, people have gotten really creative, right, with some of the racks and pieces of equipment that they have in their home gyms. So watching guys like Joe Gray or Chip Birdie, who are making some really cool, and there's a lot. I'm not remembering everybody off the top of my head, but creating these like really cool hacks, I guess you could call it, which I think has been a neat, evolution of home gym content. Just seeing really what's available in such a small footprint is fun to see. But yeah, I definitely still keep a pulse on it. I'll hop in like a Reddit forum every once in a while or something like that, and I'll get some comments like, "Oh man, it's great to see you again. Like, where you been? It's been a while." And I just kind of say, "Yeah, I'm still here, but yes, you're right. It has been a while." So,
yeah, what is your take on like how the home gym scene has evolved since you began?
It's really remarkable just how far it's come in terms of the evolution of equipment, as well as just the population of home gym owners. And I don't see either one of those really slowing down anytime soon. But, kind of like we were talking about in 2016, you had Rogue, and then you had, a few other players that you may or may not have been necessarily aware of. Whereas now there's seemingly hundreds of companies, all of whom are producing some pretty cool equipment, some of which are, being a bit more innovative than others. But it's just, it's pretty awesome to see. And, competition is a good thing, and it's exciting to kind of see where the market's going. I'm very keen and optimistic about where it is heading. And I think it's super amazing what guys like you especially are doing with Home Gym Con. And, that bringing awareness to the home gym market in that way, I think is so cool and so clever. And I'm really proud of you, dude. I think it's awesome what you built, and I can't wait to see that evolve over the years, because even 2 years ago when you first started it and you had, I don't know how many vendors you had, but it seems like you have like 4x that now, which is a real testament to you and the home gym market overall.
Yeah. What do you think about, like, do you think, I'd be curious to hear your take on, like, who do you think some companies are that are going to kind of take that next level? Maybe join Rogue or Rep, or is there anybody even in that area? Or are there any luxury gym companies that you can see, maybe even European companies that come into the U.S. and do well?
I think the ATX is one that's in Europe that's probably going to have a bigger, I guess, stronghold or opportunity here in the U.S. The others are going to be more of a how do I word it? Like, they're coming over on a quote basis. They've got a really nice gym. Someone's going to reach out to them directly. I don't think they're going to have necessarily a big operation here. Like Eleiko has a huge operation in Texas. They're a Swedish company, but they have a huge operation here in the U.S. Mm-hmm. So they're going to continue to do really well. Prime, of course, has a big operation here. Torque, huge here in the U.S. So there's definitely going to be moves. I think Torque is actually one of them who's really pushing the envelope in terms of innovation. Some of their systems, the modularity is really wild, and it's fun to play with and to see what all is possible. Prime is constantly pushing the envelope. I mean, their new Smart Arm is such a cool adaptation to making 6 or 7 different movements available and practically the footprint of a bench. So those are the types of things that I'm excited to see. I think the connected fitness market is really compelling. The Voltra, for instance, is just incredible. And I'm really excited to see where that portion of the market goes. I saw your video with I guess, the longer cable with Voltra. So I'm excited to see kind of how they evolve. And
have you used one?
Yeah, I've got 2 at the house.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. And I love it. I think it's a really clever. And I'm actually going to, like, we've got a commercial gym here that we helped design and build, and they've got Voltras in there. They've got Anchors in there. They've got a whole bunch of cool things that maybe you would normally see in a home gym setting, but they're making their way into more commercial settings because of the carryover. They do a lot of sports performance there, so there's a lot of carryover with that. Maybe not necessarily Gen Pop gyms like a Crunch or Planet Fitness or something like that, but if there's a specific reason to have a Voltra, I think it makes a lot of sense in those settings as well. And then it's in terms of, like, I mean, I think that Rep has really become, if not the face of home gyms, they're really up there. I feel like they've got a really good sort of connection with the community. They tend to, it seems to me, listen really well, refine their products, and come out with some pretty unique takes on existing things. So all of which I'm excited to see and am looking forward to in the future.
Got it.
How about you? I mean, you're getting to see all sorts of stuff at Home Gym Con. Do you have the same sort of outlook in terms of advancement in equipment and beyond?
Yeah, I think your ATX comment was right. Rep, I think your rep comment was right. I don't think you should sleep on Rogue either.
Yeah.
Everyone's very impressed with their functional trainers, and rumor has it like they're starting to do the more like they're starting to do the collaborative. I think they've noticed how much you can get from collaborating. I think they're doing it more with the drop shipping method, but there's more and more people that they're reaching out to. So I don't like they want to win. And they are so powerful. It's hard to count them out as like still the top.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, and I don't want not including them in that comment to come across as me sleeping on them, because they're still top dog. They are the giant, and they're going to be for a long time. I own Rogue stuff. I recommend Rogue stuff, and I am excited to see kind of where they go. And I agree with you. There has been more of a focus, I think, on collaborating with some folks and putting some things out there. So I'm excited to see it.
Well, I also just think, you're putting together these amazing home gyms in one package. And I think like the average person, they want to do that too. They just know it's going to take like 7-8 years, or like tinkering over time, adding. But I do think strength machines are going to be, I think people having 3 or so in their home gym is going to be completely normal, especially as like guys like us age.
Yep.
We're in our I think you're right around later 30s. And I started in my later 20s, where it was more of like the scene was like powerlifting, CrossFit, and I didn't ever do either of those specifically, but my workouts were pretty similar to those. Like it went in like little shifts. But I have just noticed the overall convenience of machines, and they're not as intimidating to come out to the garage and do. So I do think that trend's going to continue with a mix of rack attachments. So I just think like these full gym setups are going to continue. And I don't know exactly, like, I think it'll be a mix of attachments, a mix of specialty machines. I don't know necessarily who's going to win. I think there's really good variety in the market right now, especially from all of the big people, the big guys. You can get like Rep or you can, all of the major companies, you can get a functional trainer on your rack.
Yep.
Or you can get a basic rack, and like I have like a Bells of Steel single column cable, and that's great. Like for the price, the really, really great first kind of specialty machine that you can add, and again, great accessory, not as intimidating as picking up a barbell if I want to just come in the garage and do. But yeah, I just think like people love their home gyms, and it just like it all comes back to like how you started Garage Gym Lab, how I started. I was like, this is like cool. This is This is beneficial. Like it's nice having a gym that you don't have to drive to.
And then at the time, like when you and I were starting, and some people starting even well before we were in terms of our physical home gyms, I feel like there's this almost stigma that a home gym is grungy, or you're going to have black equipment and it's just going to be an eyesore. And it's pretty amazing now what you can do in terms of colors, materials. We're putting real Italian leather with a beautiful stitching on benches and machines, stainless steel custom logos. Intech's got the, rotating face plates. Nord's got the wooden accented pieces, all handcrafted. It's amazing now what you can do to create cohesiveness in the overall theme of a home. And I think that's been a really cool evolution in gym equipment too. But to your point, I do agree. I think machines are going to be more prevalent, especially if someone has the space and the budget to support it, because it is a lot more convenient, and frankly, it's a lot of fun to use. And some people are, reluctant to get under a barbell. Maybe they're getting older. They don't necessarily want to train with specificity for powerlifting or Olympic weightlifting. So let me hop on a pendulum squat or something like that. That's maybe safer, more comfortable. So yeah, I think you're dead on with that comment.
Yeah, and also I've talked with a few companies, and they've asked my opinion on price and about certain things, and I'm like, ooh, sounds expensive, but I think people pay for it. I do think if you're super ingrained in this home gym community, it is a lot of like maybe guys, mostly guys with like younger kids. So you're just like in that phase where you don't have a ton of extra spending money, but there's a lot of people out there that do.
Yeah.
As you're seeing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So this market is more than just like those who are in the Facebook groups or
Yes.
those commenting on, home gym pictures on Instagram.
100%. And they're just, people trying to stay healthy, trying to live an active lifestyle, trying to lead by example with their kids. That was one of the reasons why I got into fitness. On my 14th birthday, that's how old you had to be to become a member at our local gym on the coast of South Carolina. My dad came in unannounced, unknown to me, at 4:30 in the morning and said, "Get up, you're going to join a gym." Mm-hmm. And I'm not big still, but I was really tiny then. And we did that Monday through Friday until I graduated high school. And that was just like a really cool opportunity for my dad and I to bond. And I think that you can accomplish similar things now in the comfort of your own home, but still accomplishing, that active lifestyle.
Yeah. What about other business opportunities, that you're not going to pursue, or that you wouldn't feel scared to share? Like, there's a lot of content creators out there who like know their stuff, and a lot of them are also like, they're working careers, so they have it, but they're doing this content on the side. Time's crunched. You know how it is. It's really tough. I'd be curious to hear, like, are there other, and it really does seem like the affiliate avenue is closing. Like,
yes,
the traditional affiliate revenue avenue is closing. So you pivoted. And it seems like there's more people that could do this in their local area as well. Not trying to like tell people steal your business, but there's definitely people that, like, I talked to Preston from Garage Gym Builders.
In
He's
Texas.
been doing this a while. Out of Texas. Great guy. And he was like, anybody could do this in your local area. To some extent, not everybody's installing Unix racks in $5 million homes, but you can help. You can do something local. Any other like business ideas that you could think of that somebody could slowly turn into like a real business, or use the content creation with like the knowledge they've acquired to do?
I think, there's always going to be brand opportunities. So maybe partnering with brands directly for content creation is a smart, like Matt Pendergraph does a pretty good job at that, I think.
Yeah.
The affiliate stuff is still going to be there. It's just a much more challenging landscape now, where getting traction, be it through Google or whatever, is just simply harder with, AI becoming what it is and growing. It's becoming almost a zero-click web, where you can get the answer right on the front of Google, for instance, without necessarily clicking into any particular website, and that is unfortunately at the detriment of publishers, independent publishers, whatever. So the affiliate aspect of that is definitely going down. But I still think there's a big opportunity in video. So if somebody's comfortable behind a camera and likes that process, I would think that would be a pretty logical route to take. So yeah, I think brand opportunities, YouTube videos, still a really good opportunity. But yeah, I think kind of what you said, it's a little bit harder to navigate now, the digital side of what we do at least.
Yeah.
And there's just a lot more. There's a lot more people doing it. Yeah.
There's a lot more. Yeah.
Because like I said, like we talked about earlier, there was like maybe 4 or 5 of us before, some of which were more active than others. But now there's, gosh, dozens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dozens.
I've told a few people like what really was the boost was COVID, where there were like literally a handful of resources that millions of people all of a sudden needed to go to as they figured out how to build a home gym.
That was crazy, man. That was so chaotic because like for the first 2 or 3 months, it was like gangbusters. And then all of a sudden everything just completely vanished basically because equipment was impossible to even get.
Yep.
And I remember posting things on Instagram I did a whole series about Facebook Marketplace where people were putting things on Facebook Marketplace that were, they could like pay off their mortgage. They're like, hey, I got a prime rack. I'm selling it for, $25,000. And it was so funny. Those posts were so funny. And I'll have to go back and look at some of those because they were outlandish in what people think they could get from things. And maybe they were in some cases. People were willing to pay anything for some kind of fitness presence.
That it really was crazy. All right. What about I did ask a few people some questions. What about dream installation client? This comes from Rob from Vintage Weights PGH.
Oh, what's up, Rob?
That was a good question, I thought.
Like you're asking what's the target demographic? No,
just dream. Do you have a dream client?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'd love to get like some professional athletes. I haven't really identified one in particular, but I think that would be super cool. Like building out a home gym for a professional athlete for their off-season training or something like that, who has a budget and they want to do like some custom stuff. That would be amazing. But yeah, I haven't really identified like any one person in particular.
Do you do any Sorinex anymore?
Yeah, I mean, if somebody wants a Sorinex setup, we'll absolutely do that.
We'll do a Sorinex setup, yeah.
That my first client ever, he did a full Sorinex setup. He did a Sorinex Apex with a big dumbbell rack bridge, and then a lat pull down, and a functional column that he basically, 2 functional columns in the lat pull down to basically create a functional trainer, a lat pull low row, dumbbell rack with all Intech Delta dumbbells branded with his name, and then the actual Apex rack. And then he had like a true form. We did a custom true form runner, really nice flooring, and then like a few other accessories, like all the prime attachments, things like that. So yeah, all that to say, my first client ever was Sorinex. So I love Sorinex. I had Sorinex in my home gym for a long time, and I think they're making amazing stuff. And the customization is next level.
Yeah. What's your home gym look like these days, or where do you work out most of the time?
I don't work out in here because this is just the showroom.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
It's like it's hard to like walk in here and see all this beautiful equipment, and I just want to use it. But I'm definitely reluctant to do so. My home gym has been a bit in transition. I was consolidating essentially 2 gyms back into one when I left the studio gym over here. So, got a rack, the prime dumbbell rack, functional trainer, some cardio, Adonis, and I envision myself sort of pivoting a little bit more into more of the machines myself. So I want to get a pendulum squat, probably a leg extension, leg curl combo, a prone leg curl, and maybe some upper body stuff. Haven't really decided yet. Still tinkering. We'll always be tinkering.
Yeah. Still tinkering.
Thoughtful of like, do I want to repaint? Do I want to, it's a constant thing that you, I'm sure, are always, juggling in our minds. Like it's like the meme where the guy and the girlfriend or wife or laying in the bed and just like, I bet he's thinking about other girls.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking about my next gym layout.
What about mistakes along the ways? Any things you really learned from that you hope to never do again? Because this seems like it seems like everything you did, you didn't like have proper training for it. You just also just did it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to say about that, and just going for it and figuring it out as you go. So I don't think that there's necessarily any regret that I have, because every decision that I made or everything that happened along the way led me to where I am today. So I'm thankful that it happened the way that it did. If I were to say one thing, it'd probably be to be more consistent on the video side of it. I think being too heavy on one platform, be it especially for me at least, Google, was detrimental. But at the same time, it led me to the pivot that I have now, which I'm certainly very excited for. So yeah, I don't know if there's any like particular regret. I'm thankful to have been on this journey. It's been a very rewarding one, and looking forward to the future.
Got it. And then what if you were today and you were to get back, let's just say start for the first time. For the first time with like some prior knowledge, I guess. How would you start home gym content? How would you start your journey?
Well, it would be the opposite of what I did at the beginning, whereas it was all picture focused. I think you got to be front facing. I think you have to create a personal brand. I think people need to get to know you and appreciate you and trust you. And it's really hard to do that when you're just reposting pictures of home gyms or reposting pictures of blenders or whatever somebody else is doing out there. There needs to be a face associated with it, and it needs to be one that's trustworthy and engaging with the community. So video, going live, doing podcasts like you're doing, home gym con, like all of those things are, I think, better suited for success than, faceless reposts.
For sure. Yeah. Cool. Well,
yeah, man.
Was there anything should have covered that wasn't?
On my side, no, man, I don't think so. I am curious though, what you're most excited to see at Home Gym Con this year.
Definitely just like getting hundreds of people together.
Yeah.
People that know each other online. That's the best part. I think, that's easily the best. But I mean, just looking forward to it. I can't believe how quickly it's coming up. It's been it's been over a year since the last one, but it feels like just yesterday. I don't know. I'm just worried. I just want to make sure everyone has a good time. It's kind of like you're the organizer. You're like the parent there, kind of hoping that they want to do it again.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. But yeah, it's just a really cool. Also, other than just like the people, it's a cool mix of like large companies, smaller one-man shop companies. And it's just cool to see everybody together.
Dude, absolutely, man. It's so cool. And I'm so happy for you. And I'm so happy that the community gets to participate in something like that. It's obviously been missing in our industry. So it's really cool that you're able to bring it to light. And I'm looking forward to coming myself next year. I think we talked earlier. Can't make it this year, but I will be a full participant next year. Maybe we'll even have a booth or something.
That'd be awesome. Yeah,
man.
Cool. All right. Well, I'll do the same. Look forward to watching you from afar, seeing what the next few years looks like. We'll have to do this more often.
Definitely.
Check in every once in a while. But yeah, I think that's going to do it. I think I'll plug in the links for to follow you. I think most people listening will already know where to. But thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, Jake.
All right. Thank you.
See ya.